Hi, everyone. Welcome to another installment of hashtag Know Your Truck, where you have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about our current Trocadero artists and other important collaborators. Today, we get to chat with the incredible Jake Speakman. Hi, Jake.
Hi.
Who joined us in November 2021. So you're almost coming up to 3 years with the trucks already.
Mhm.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Third joy season. Very exciting.
I know, because you started straight onto the joys. We'll ask
Mhm.
about that in a little bit. But let's launch right in. Jake, we always start with you guys telling the viewers a little bit about your background, where are you from, all that good stuff. So crack on, my friend.
For sure. I grew up outside of the suburbs of Philly, and that's where I started dancing. I started dancing through the musical theater little department in my middle school.
Mhm.
And then the choreographer there just had a little dance studio, and she said, "You know what? You might have something to go with here." I started taking classes with her immediately, and a little musical theater summer program insisted that I come do their production of Beauty and the Beast that summer.
How
Um,
old were you around that time?
I guess that's 12, 13.
Mhm.
And then, so that was where it started, which I guess is a little late, but also early for boys.
Mhm.
Um, And about 2 years into just taking that, like, musical theater, jazz, tap, and ballet when I hated ballet, I started going to, this Russian ballet school that was, maybe an hour away from where I lived, and my teachers were former Bolshoi dancers, and they really gave me that foundational Vaganova training that,
Mm.
carried me on. I eventually went to a performing arts high school in Westchester, Pennsylvania, um, and, there I wanted to be this musical theater actor and eventually had to, like, come down to that decision of, like, do I wanna do musical theater or classical dance? And for some reason, I chose classical ballet. Um, um, and I think it works, really well in my favor, and I ended up doing Bolshoi summer programs, and that was kind of my first taste of New York City. Um, and I guess about a year later, this is what, 2015, 2016, got an apprenticeship with a ballet company here in New York and moved to New York during my junior year of high school. And I ended up doing my junior and senior year in the same year and graduated high school early. Um, and I guess that's been about 8 years that I've been in New York. And this kind of segues us into our next question.
So hold on before I ask you about our next question. So if you hated ballet when you were doing like musical theater and ballet or like jazz tap, all these other forms of dance, and ballet was your least favorite, how did you then decide to go to a school that was further away that had extensive ballet training?
You know, I
Am I
think this
seeing
can sound,
personality trait here? You're like,
yeah,
I
this
don't
kind
like
of
this, so I should try it more.
a little bit. Once I started, like, deciding that I wanted to take it a little more seriously, I understood the benefits of training in ballet and, like, really benefiting from the technical element.
Mhm.
I think also when I started, I was, very young and very, I was discovering my sexuality, and there was a part of me that, had that foreshadowing thought or that underground thought of, like, ballet's gay. And so it scared me. It scares you to kind of take that step when you're what, 12 years old, and you're kind of realizing who you are and who you want to be in this world. And you're kind of faced with this very out of the ordinary art form. And I mean, I grew up in the suburbs where the boys played football and baseball, and I don't know how to do that. I don't do that.
Yeah. Or
Um,
no interest. You didn't want to do it and you
yeah,
had no interest in doing it and
exactly.
you weren't going to do it.
Um, And so it was kind of like those moments of, like, foundationally building who I was, and not understanding it at the time. So there's that moment of stepping away from it. And then, once I embraced it, you kind of experience that liberation that you can kind of have with dance. Um, it's
And
so,
to be able to do that at a young age without necessarily being able to articulate it that way though, right?
mhm,
Because you're just
yeah,
saying you're able to say that now after you've had a few
yeah,
more years under your belt though and a lot
mhm,
more experiences. So in hindsight, it was more of a momentous occasion that you initially
Mhm,
give it credit for. That's amazing.
mhm,
You end up going to college in New York, right? Because you went to Marymount
mhm.
College, an incredible school. So yeah.
Yeah, and, I wasn't exactly planning to go to college. I'm not
Mhm.
the most, academic, proficient. Um, but, um and so I was kind of planning that after that year of New York to kind of, like, experience that gap year since I graduated high school early. I kind of figured I would take that time to figure out if, okay, maybe I can, like, really try to book a show or try to keep working with this company and maybe just pursue dancing. Um, but I ended up there's a wonderful organization called New York City Dance Alliance,
Mhm.
and every year they do a huge college scholarship fund, where they give millions of dollars to young dancers who want to pursue dance in higher education and make a full life career out of this. I was never really that competition convention kid, but they do let just anyone go to the college scholarship audition if you want to attend. And so I went for the week and I did the one audition, and at the end of the audition, Joe Lantieri, the head of the organization, grabbed me by the hand, took me over to Katie Langen, who is the head of Marymount Manhattan Dance Department, and she said, "This is someone you need to know." And it was that moment that she, shook my hand and said, "Do you want to go to college?" And I have no reason not to turn it down. 2 days later, when they award it, they offered me an incredibly generous scholarship from from the university alone, but the organization itself gave me one of the highest scholarships that they offer, and so I had no choice but to pursue this, um, and I couldn't be more, grateful about having that opportunity and going and pursuing it in a higher education. Because when there's you can go to a conservatory style school and you can become a great performer out at the end of it. But Marymount's program is really designed in a way to teach you to be a true advocate for your art and to make a career for yourself after you stop dancing.
Yeah.
They turn you into an incredible performer. They give you every technique class under the sun and give you incredible performance opportunities. But what I benefited most was being able to walk away and say that after this, after I stop dancing, I can still be a part of this art. I can still be in this community of dancers and find my niche and find the world that I want to be in.
Yeah.
I can always be involved with art, with dance, and it's very hard to kind of come to that conclusion when you've only been taught in this conservatory where you want to just be a dancer. But now I can come out and understand how a nonprofit works, how
And
this.
it's also arriving to that realization that if you have the opportunity to do it the way you've done it with the guidance of people like Katie Langen, who I have the pleasure of knowing personally, and it's an incredible advocate for the art, and her staff run this fantastic program. But that you come to that realization that your love is not just to dance; it's truly love for the art form. And once you realize that it's love for the art form, that what you have, that unlocks so many other facets of things
Mhm,
that you can do within the art form to please yourself, but also to contribute to the art
mhm,
form for other generations. So sounds like a little bit of a case of like having clear direction on your part and being at the right place at the right time
mhm.
and the stars aligning. So
Yeah.
from there, then, how do you come to learn about the talks? Was it while you were in college or just through the New York scene or?
Um, a mixture of both. It was while I was in college, but my senior year of college, the first day of my senior year, I walked into Katie Langen's office and I said, "I want to take your advanced point class." They weren't offering beginner point that year because the girlies knew what they were doing and they didn't need it. And so it was the only point class really offered. And I told her, I want to be in it. This is a skill that I need. This is a skill that I will benefit from both as a male dancer, but you know, I I want to learn this skill. This is now something that is a demand and high demand for this art form. And I think I, fit the build perfectly of body type, body size, like gender and sexuality, and what that where I can play with that. um and she said to me, okay, now write a paper on it. I want you to go home and write a short essay of why um You think you should be able to do this? I went home that night and boop, 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 boop. And 7 pages later,
You're
walked in
like,
on my desk.
and frozen
She
gone.
said, okay, here's the admission slip.
And she's
uh,
like, and thank you very much. Stand over the bar, please. Wow.
um, and so I got to, and in that paper I wrote about Trocadero. The good and the bad about, how I want to take it seriously about, but also, the looking back at Bobby and what Bobby has done for the legacy of Trocadero and for the legacy of men dancing on point and playing with this gender binary. And that's no one's done that. He pioneered it. The Trocadero has pioneered this and brought it into the mainstream. So that paper became Trocadero.
Mm.
And it was, in college that I actually got to invest in dancing on point academically in a safe, controlled setting that, some guys come into Trocadero and have never put on point shoes.
They haven't had the chance to do so, though.
Yeah.
They
I
haven't
mean,
had educators that have encouraged it. So,
yeah. And so to be able to, have started it there and then take it to where I am with it now is really, mind blowing. Unfortunately, I graduated in COVID, so on Zoom, I was having a lovely time taking point class in my in my kitchen on my kitchen counter on
Under
tile.
your kitchen counter, like.
And so it was scary. I didn't know what I would be able to do with a performance career at all. I didn't know if I'd ever have one. The whole world shut down, and that was crazy. And to be that, at that pivotal moment of auditioning for a career and auditioning for a life in this art form and going back and fighting with dancers who had been in this industry for 20 years. It was very scary, but this was the one skill that I had that really made me unique. It gives me a leg up on a lot of these dancers.
On competition, yeah, on people that are, when you're the reality of competing for auditions and jobs and stuff like that. So when you joined the company, and I remember this distinctly because it was just before our Joyce season in 2021, and we literally were like, "Hi, welcome. We're going back to the Joyce." We were starting touring again after the whole debacle. We threw you straight into a pretty challenging, for lack of a better word. We kindly asked you to do something that even by the standards of a trained professional dancer who perform male roles in a traditional ballet company was already pretty difficult, because you were going to be partnering two very tall ballerinas in a pas de trois, former Trox Dwayne Gosa and Josh Thake. So you were doing a boy role, but partnering two people that were towering over you on your first gig with the Trocadero, opening at the Joyce Theater, thank you very much, with a brand new piece. So that must have been fun.
Yeah, that was crazy. I learned 10 ballets in 2 weeks.
You did.
And I initially started like Tori, the way I understood the contract and how it would start was that I would just kind of be understudying a lot of roles, kind of learning and getting it on. I'm sure Tori has that, hesitation with every dancer, because they're not just going to throw you right to the wolves, but
just to give you the chance to feel yourself around the company too.
Yeah, just to have the social dynamic and the physical dynamics of how it all works. But I had my first rehearsal, and automatically I was cast in Swan Lake as number 6, and doing pas de trois, which was absolutely a dream to debut a role for the company, which no one gets to do, is crazy. But to be able to like take that on as my first role was really, it's an honor to be able to do that and to have joined the legacy in that way. And my opening night at the Joyce was the first time I'd ever done Four Little Swans, because I wasn't cast to do it when we were rehearsing it. They were just like, "Do you know it? Okay, go for it." So I did it
very Trocadero.
a literal first time in the dress rehearsal, and then opened it that night. And that was also really fun because Salvador got injured during our dress rehearsal that day, and I went into a completely new role in Walpurgis Nacht. And so I went from being a maid into a fawn in 2 hours on top of debuting Swan Lake, Pas de Trois, and Walpurgis.
Jake rolls with the punches, everyone. If you haven't gathered that about this human,
Well, you
Jake
know,
rolls.
it's the joy of dancing. No one gets to do what we do. You know,
Yeah,
there are people who would kill to have, a performance career, and then to do it in the way that we do it is just a dream. So there's no reason not to invest in it head forward.
yeah. So with that said, what 3 years in after a start like that has not slowed down because it's all been like that since then, what would you say that you've enjoyed the most about being a Troc so far?
Um, there's a part of it that is, it is that fast-paced environment that keeps you on your toes. It keeps you exciting. We do the same show for weeks on end for, I guess, 3 years on end. It's how many Swan Lakes have I done by this point? But it's keeping it exciting that's what makes it so special. Girls at major companies will do the core of Swan Lake and just be standing there for 2 hours, and you can see in their face and in their little leggies that they're just getting tired, they're bored, and they'll spend a decade doing that, which is fun. And if you make a life out of that, it's great. But for us, it's always changing. The show's never the same. It's hard. It's incredibly hard. It's physically demanding. It's mentally challenging. But I am just filled with the joy of dancing. So I have no reason not to just enjoy every second of it. And we get to take it around the world. This is an opportunity of a lifetime for me to be 25 years old, and I've been to countless countries that I never dreamed of ever going. Japan is a surreal place, and the fact that I've been there twice now for a month each time is, really, that's the dream.
Would you say that that's one of the favorite cities that you have had the opportunity to go on tour?
Japan is definitely, there's nothing like it, and I think it will always be the top of the list. I think Brazil is definitely, that's someplace that I don't know if we will ever go again. So to have the opportunity to go with the show is really the dream, and what a crazy place to be. There is nothing more beautiful. I mean, it helped that we were there at the peak of summer.
Yeah. And
So
talk about two really different audience, like you just said, Japan and Brazil, which are just very distinct, very different demographics. Maybe not demographics, but types of audiences that come to see the Trocadero show that enjoy it, but manifested in such different ways, though,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. Because I mean, our Japan audience goes head over heels for us. And I mean,
But not really till the end of the show. They like
exactly.
save themselves and
It's
then
it is pure sophistication to watching it. You can kind of get it out of them a little bit. They really like Little Swans. So I remember my first time doing Little Swans, they started clapping with us.
you're like,
Also not on the rhythm, so it's terrifying. But it's they have nothing but passion for the show, but go to Brazil and it's a fiery passion. They
from
are
the get-go too, like,
yeah. So I got to, by that point, I got to take on Odette. And so it's those moments I always kind of gauge how the show is going to go off of that first step. I just
absolutely.
say, dink.
And
And that's how you set the tone for the entire show. And that's how you can, once that happens, you feel the audience go.
yeah.
And so that's, one of those places where they screamed instantly. They really love the show.
And I think if people haven't seen the Trocadero show several times or haven't had the opportunity to perform, like you guys would know, there are just like 3 or 4 times in those first 10 minutes of Swan Lake, when we're opening the show with Swan Lake, where you kind of get to know whether the audience is going to be right there with you, because, the comedy and what people find funny is so different. So you mentioned that as like, from like Shelby and I, when we're calling the shows too, is the exact same thing. We see this one queen come out. That's moment number one. If you don't hear that laughter or they're not there with you, you're like, okay, this one's a little bit tougher to crack. They don't get the
work
joke.
a little bit harder right now. We're about to real campy.
Or for us, like, because we're calling the show from the top, right? So like we can already tell from the pre-show announcement. So if the pre-show announcement doesn't sell it, then we're We're
And
hoping that Odette
you
cracks
have that
it.
moment with Rothbart. It's that
Exactly.
moment, and then
Poor little swan. So there's like all of these hurdles until you're like, okay, okay,
mhm,
they're with us. They get it.
we're
They know.
in.
Exactly. They're gonna take this journey with us. Yeah, wow. Um, Along the same lines, what is the hardest thing? What do you find the hardest thing about touring? You know, like either physically or mentally, because they're touring can, especially the way we tour, can become pretty hard.
Um, I mean, other than the physical exhaustion of, going to a different time zone, going on sitting on a 10-hour flight, thankfully, we're balanced out with how we kind of plan it out. Thank
Mhm.
you.
We
Uh,
try. So with that.
and so, you can kind of make up for that and you can recover pretty easily. I would say, when you're in Europe and you have these little teeny beds that are, not great, that's always a little difficult. Or learning the layout of a new city and where you can, go get food, where can you go get a snack for before the show, where can you kind of like manage out and play out your day of like just the basic necessities.
Mhm.
Like I think that's probably the hardest part, but um, it's also like the best way to kind of integrate into a culture like so smoothly is when you're forced to go to a cafe and figure out how to order a sandwich in a different language.
And
um,
mentally, do you tend to like stay like zoned in when you're traveling to all these places that are huge places that we're not used to, or do you tend to just like try to go out and explore?
I want to go out as much as I can. There's a balance because the show is the priority. So um, those first couple of days when you're just getting into it is kind of your opportunity to, integrate and figure out the lay of the land, and figure out what kind of Italian, Spanish, German, Greek you can pick up
Combination.
in an hour. um, but then once the show kind of starts, it's that's kind of full focus. That's where you really need to dedicate the time to that. It is a job after all, so you kind of have to respect that and also realize that you're putting your energy into doing that. Conserve it where you can. um, Obviously you can't miss out on a fabulous food that you're going to have around the world. Greece had the most delicious
My
meals.
God, I know.
So, you have to have the proper dinners. You have to, go and enjoy the town or go enjoy the place. Especially because some of these places, I don't know if I'd ever go. I don't
Mhm.
know if I'll ever find myself again. So, um,
But it's that balance, right? Like making the most out of the opportunity while knowing, just like you said, it is a job and you're on like somebody else's dime when you're traveling to these places. But that doesn't mean that you
mhm,
cannot, with a little bit of organization and proper rest, can combine it all, though, in
yeah,
order to experience the most
look,
out of
I
it.
still got to eat.
Exactly, exactly. And you still have to make it to the beach when you're in Sao Paulo, and you still have to be
Exactly.
able to like catch a sunset when you're in these
Mhm,
places. So
mhm,
it's like juggling the pieces of making all of this work for
mhm.
the exact, otherwise why do it, right? Like
Yeah,
the job itself is hard enough that even though you enjoy dancing, if you have the opportunity to travel to these places, let's take
absolutely.
the opportunity the most we can. Um, Last question I'm going to ask you, because we can be chatting for hours, but an important one. Favorite role that you have danced already or that you would love to dance, and why? And this is tricky because you've done so many roles already in the company, leads, chorus, everything. So what do you
Um, well, I will absolutely hands down say that Swan Queen Odette is always going to be the top of the list. There is nothing like having the responsibility of that role and to have joined the legacy of not only Trocadero dancers, but the countless ballerinas who've come before us and what, inspires Trocadero. To kind of have my 2 cents in that is kind of like that's why I'm doing this, and to have had the opportunity um, to take it around the world is there's nothing like it. I couldn't imagine it. But Odette is sort of in our show. It's a strong responsibility to set the tone of the entire show. It's you have that one moment, and it's on you to set the rest of the night up. And it's also beautiful dancing, but also in terms of my career, there's a long-standing tradition of, these young ballerinas when they are moving up in their companies, their first role is going to be Odette and Odile. It's when they can perform and execute that role that an artistic director is going to trust them to take on any principal role. And that's kind of where that lives in the dance world. And it's the dream to have taken it on and feel like I'm actually, I've achieved it and accomplished it. And now I can take it on to any other role. We're premiering Symphony in C this year. And to say that I get to be, one of the leading dancers for it is a dream to be debuting a role for the company, and to be debuting my second role for the company is, dancers go through years of this job and don't get to do that. And to kind of be at this pivotal moment for Trocadero in terms of carrying the legacy on past the 50 years is really, that's what I want to be doing. I want to take it as far as I can. I'm taking it and I'm running.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a testament to your dedication and the legacy and opportunities that the company has been able to give you, and has had the opportunity to benefit from your artistry in order to be one more person that brings something to the Trocadero sack of incredible artists. It's like another jewel in the Trocadero tiara.
Yeah, and it's like, as much as I want to feel like I'm incredibly lucky to do it, I know that luck is built on preparation meeting opportunity. So I feel like I've done nothing but prepare every second.
And that job doesn't stop, right? It's like you get there and you just have to like keep chipping at it in order to just to always do it to the best of your abilities. We're here to bring cheer to people and to make people enjoy. Jake, this has been most revelatory. I ask a lot of these questions because I want to get to chat with you guys a little bit more besides just like the regular day-to-day craziness. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to tap you for like a little goodbye in a second. But before we do so, I just want to remind our viewers that if you want to see more interviews like the one we're doing with Jake, you can catch those on our YouTube channel, where we talk with other Trocadero dancers, artists, and collaborators of the company. You can follow us in the usual social media channels, Instagram at Le Ballet Trocadero. For our TikTok followers, you can find us at The Trocs. For our Facebook followers, you can find us full company name, Le Ballet Trocadero de Monte Carlo. But most importantly, if you want to see what's up with the company, performance schedule, an incredible highlight of timeline with highlights of the company's 50 years that keeps popping up with new little things, and also other listings of activities around our 50th anniversary and beyond, you can do so by going to our website at www.trocadero.org. That's the home base of everything that's happening in the Trocadero universe. So I would recommend that you go and check it out. It's a brand new design this year, so it's looking pretty sexy for our 50th anniversary. But most importantly, I think that the message that we want to give you here is that we look forward to seeing you join us at a performance live wherever we come to a city near you. I think the Trocs are best experienced live. Wouldn't you say so, my dear Jake?
Absolutely. I'm very pretty in person.
Yeah. Very funny. So in a pretty kind of way. Yeah. There's so many incredible offers out there to watch on TV, to like Netflix and chill, but there's nothing like experiencing performers live in their element. So make a night out of it, make an afternoon out of it. Come see us at the Joys, come see us when we're on tour. Go check out our website for listings. And we're gonna say goodbye, but we're gonna leave you with some footage of the incredible Jake Speakman dancing one of the Paquita variations. So don't go anywhere. Thank you again, Jake, for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who's watching. And until then, just keep on trucking. Bye.
Ciao.